the Wrestle Talk presenter that you have to keep an eye on what they're tweeting.
Hey guys, this is Tempest from Wrestle Talk, and I'm reminding you to support Tom Talks Rubbish.
What's going on, guys? It's your boy, Tom Talks Rubbish, and stand back for another interview. This time, I'm joined by Abbie, social media manager for both Wrestle Talk and No Rules Barred. So welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for having me.
So if we take this back to the beginning, have you always had a love of wrestling and board games, or was it something that came through the job that you're now currently in?
So I came into the world of wrestling quite late. I was about 19, I think. I'd heard of like WWE before and just about knew who John Cena was and The Rock, and that was about it. And then I met my current partner, and he has always been a wrestling fan. And I was of that person that was like, oh, you know, it's fake, right? The people that I hate now. And he was like, just let me show you one match. Just let me show you one match. And then if you don't want to watch anymore, we won't watch anymore. So then we watched Triple H versus Cactus Jack from Royal Rumble 2000.
Oh.
And he was like, if you don't like this, fine, I'll never make you watch it anything ever again. And from that, I was like, oh, hang on a minute. There's something to this. So that was way back in like the summer of 2014. So I just missed WrestleMania 30.
Okay.
So my first pay-per-view that I think I properly watched was Survivor Series of that year, which
Is that the one where Sting shows up?
The Team Cena, Team Authority.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. So that was when I started getting like more invested in them watching, I say weekly TV. I didn't watch it weekly, but got more invested in like what was going on week to week and things like that. And then later down the line, Wrestle Talk opportunity with Wrestle Talk came along. And then from there, got involved in the board games. I was one of those people that had only really played Monopoly and Cluedo before that side of things. So yeah, so broadening my horizons on these two subjects daily, because I came into these worlds quite late compared to everybody else.
So how does the opportunity for both of them things come about then?
So I think it was like September 2019. Around that time, Wrestle Talk put out a recruitment drive, and they were looking for website writers, somebody for social media, and I think some on-screen guys at the time they were looking for as well. And I was working in social media at the time. And I thought, what an amazing opportunity. I wasn't too happy in my current job. And thought, I'll put a little pitch together, applied, didn't hear anything for a couple of months. And then I think it was February the following year, so just before the pandemic, I got a phone call while I was at my other job. And on iPhones, it comes up with like a possibility of who it might be. So it was like, maybe Luke Owen. And I was like, what do you mean Luke Owen is ringing me? This can't be like real. It must be a mistake. And then I got a voicemail because I missed the call, and it cut off just after, hi Abbie, it's Luke Owen from Wrestle Talk here, because neither of us had any signal. And I was like, oh my God, I need to ring him back. This is Luke Owen, what's going on? And then from there, had a phone call with Luke, had a couple of chats with Ollie as well, about like what I'd like to do with the socials and things like that, and then started on like a part-time basis. Did that for a couple of years, and then recently this year became fully employed by them. And then with No Rules Barred, that just sort of came to me naturally as the channel got launched, back when it was for Nerds, and yeah, it just made sense to have it all in one place. So
Yeah,
spoke to Adam about running the socials for that, and yeah, just took off with it really for everyone. Do Parts of Unknown, do the Rest Talk podcast, Twitter as well. So yeah, lots of different things to manage.
fair enough. So with your reaction to getting a phone call from Luke Owen, it sounds like you were quite a big fan of the Wrestle Talk crew. Is that correct?
Yeah. So we had listened to, I think, like in terms of Wrestle Talk and like WTTV, we started listening to podcasts back when it was the Daily Squash, when it was Ben Spindler and Paul Taylor and Gavin Duenis. And that turned into Wrestle Ramble, I believe. I might have, they're all in the same family somewhere of people. And then from that started listening to Ollie, watching the YouTube videos, the news videos, and then Luke came in, and then Laurie and Pete. And then I joined part-time at about the same time as Adam coming to the channel as well. So it was that sort of introduction there. I was like, oh my God, this is so much bigger than little old me. And being like in a small farming town in the southwest of England, opportunities like this don't come about to work in this sort of line of work. Like social media I was doing before was for little cafes and attractions and things down here, not like YouTube channels with tens of thousands of subscribers and an industry as big as wrestling is. So yeah, it was mad to like get to talk to these people that I'd seen on telly, and I would say celebrities in my eyes previous to that.
I know what you mean, because I've had similar with all the interviews that I've managed to do. So what was like your initial reaction to meeting them in person? Did they live up to like the opinion, I'll say it like this, opinions that you'd made of them? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. So yeah, I didn't actually meet them in person until this past November. So I've been doing the part-time stuff, but obviously COVID hit, so I couldn't get to London, whatever. It just, no one was working in the office, didn't make any sense. Obviously spoken to everyone on like video call and stuff, but actually meeting them in person, they are the loveliest bunch of people I've like ever met. And like just chatting to them was so surreal in the sense of like, I've only ever seen you on TV, but they were so welcoming and so like just happy to see me. And I was like, why are you happy to see me? Like, I'm the one that's come to you and been like, oh my gosh. But yeah, they're very funny people. They're like a great bunch together as well as individuals, which I think is really nice. Yeah, it's just a wonderful team to be a part of. Both the like on-screen team and the people behind the scenes are all wonderful, wonderful people.
It sounds like it. But when it comes to social media, are you just managing the big account, like the channel accounts, or do you have a hand in individual presenters' social medias?
So it was suggested way back when that I took over Ollie's account at some point, because he's never on Twitter. He's just never there. But there was just too much other stuff going on. So we've got the main Wrestle Talk Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Then you got Parts of Unknown Twitter. Then you got Wrestle Talk Podcast Twitter, and then obviously now No Rolls Barred Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We've set up a No Rolls Barred TikTok and a Wrestle Talk TikTok as well. And just with all the changes in social platforms at the minute and the way Instagram is and stuff like that, it's just, yeah, I haven't gone to taking over their individual Twitters yet. I think Ollie's the only one that could do with a bit of a hand, really, just because he doesn't use the platform really outside of work time. But
fair enough. Each to their own, I'd say on that one.
Exactly.
What about who is the Wrestle Talk presenter that you have to keep an eye on what they're tweeting, like to maybe not get the channel or themselves in trouble?
Oh, you're going to make me throw people under the bus, Tom.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think we've ever actually had any sort of issue with people tweeting out really horrendous opinions and things like that, because they're all good people, so they're not
Yeah.
like bigoted or going to be tweeting random dreadful opinions on things like that. If anyone needs watching, it's probably Andy Datson, but that's just because he's a law unto himself. But we just let him do what he needs to do.
Fair enough. So, what is like your day to day at this point? Are you sent like articles or videos from the boys and just like, or girls, should I say, and are just like, okay, this needs to go on social media. Please promote it. Do you have input on what goes up? How does your like work life work?
Yeah, sure. So, in terms of like wrestletalk.com and all the articles for the website guys handle that. So they tweet out all the articles for the news and on Twitter, and then post them on Facebook as well if they think they do well there. My sort of hand in everything is then everything else. So all the like discussion topics, posts on Instagram, like stories and funny videos and clips and things like that is my sort of realm. And mostly I just do whatever I want, really, do whatever I think might do well on social, what I think is trending at the time that I'd like to try. They're very happy for me to just trial loads of things and just hope that we hit a good sort of formula for different types of content across all the different socials. So it's really free. I sort of make the strategy, do the ideas, write the content, but then if you ever receive a reply from one of the accounts, that's me as well. So I'm there doing like the community management side of things, replying to people who are asking, where's the 1 o'clock news? It's not out yet. And we're like, just don't worry, it'll be there in a bit. Or like people who are tweeting about, I've ordered something from WrestleShop. Can you update me on my order, or things like that? So it's that community element as well as like putting all the content out there. And then obviously analysing that over the month and then reporting on that. So it's very like well-rounded. And what I've got obviously like other people that can lend a hand and do things and bits and pieces for me, but mostly I'm a one-woman team with help from lots of wonderful individuals.
Fair enough. So what have you put in place, because we all know how detrimental social media can be to people's mental health at times? Have you put anything in place? So like, for example, do you only use social media for work, and then when you go home it's like, that's off, I'm not touching it? What have you put in place to maybe avoid burnout or a dislike of social media because you have to work on it so much?
That's such a good question, super important question as well. I think the biggest thing is, like you say, trying to limit the time that I'm on there outside of work. I find it hard to like switch off from being on my phone. And I love to aimlessly scroll Twitter and things like that. So it's so hard, and I could be on TikTok for hours. So my main thing is trying to control who is on like my personal accounts, who's on my timeline, making it a positive space rather than like something that's going to affect me negatively, or I'm going to see horrible views on things. So using like mute functions for certain keywords or things that I just don't want to see that are coming up in the news is a good way to sort of, I'm still online, but I'm curating what I'm seeing, and I know it's 99% of the time going to be something I'll enjoy.
You're making it a safe place for yourself is what it sounds like.
Exactly. Just to, I could never just stop using it because I'm addicted, and I'll fully admit that. But yeah, just like you say, making it a safe space to just let your mind unwind and just mindlessly scroll through things.
What advice have you maybe given the Wrestle Talk presenters about avoiding social media or burnout?
I think they're all pretty good in terms of limiting their use, especially on the weekends and things like that. They're not necessarily always glued to their phones or things like that. They're pretty good at taking their time away, which is something I admire from people that are in this like media world and are like recognized people in the industry, or at least our little section of it. So I don't necessarily know that I've given them advice on that. Yeah, they were already pretty sorted before I came along, and in terms of their personal ones. Yeah, they didn't need me personally.
I was
really.
just genuinely curious on that question.
Oh no, absolutely, it's a good question.
So, what about how, as you were a Wrestle Talk fan before you started working for them, if an opportunity came up that took you in a different direction or something like that, would you feel any sort of guilt, sort of like saying to Ollie or Luke, look, I've got to step away? Or would you feel almost like, I've done my job here, this is a job, like I'm going to walk away? Does that make sense?
Oh, that's a tricky scenario, because I think, like, being that so unhappy in my previous job, it was one of those things where I was like, this is like the saving grace, this opportunity to come, and especially like moving into full time, leaving that behind, and this is such a great place to work. It'd take a real big opportunity to steer me away from the rest of Talk Boys. But if something mad did come along, I think they're such understanding people that I don't know that I'd feel guilty. I've done my bit. I'm a bit of a control freak, so I wouldn't like the handing it over to someone else and leaving it behind. I'd be one of those people that, like, you leave a job and you still stalk what they're doing and what they're getting up to. And, I wouldn't have done it like that. But I'd feel guilty anyway, because they're just such a lovely bunch, and I hate confrontation. So having that conversation about leaving would be a tricky one. So hopefully it never has to happen.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot. It was just that I was genuinely curious about.
No, absolutely. It's weird because these things in life do happen. I just never thought about how I'd manage that sort of thing. Is probably something I should have in the back of my mind just in case.
Fair enough. So if we look like a year down the line and stuff, like, what social media platform, obviously TikTok's very popular at the minute. Facebook has sort of gone down the well. Twitter is somewhere in the middle, I'd say. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
And what social media platform do you think will be popular both in wrestling and just in general life?
So yeah, I think you're completely right in that sort of like Facebook taking a bit of a downturn. We're trying to currently look at a bit of a strategy to rework our Facebook and how we build that into a more of a community feel with all our fans that are online, because there's so many different fans of Wrestle Talk. There's fans that are people that just love reading everything we write on the website. There's obviously fans of the boys on all the videos. People that are somewhere in the middle, people that just love Parts of Unknown, or maybe just love one style of video like Puzzlemania. So building that in amongst all the website articles is difficult, and that's something that is a tricky thing we need to try and figure out. But in terms of like building that community and that engagement, I think Instagram Reels and any new features Instagram decide to throw at us over the course of the next year, and TikTok are going to be the main thing, because it's fun, it's engaging, it's quick, and people are on those platforms so much. The amount of users daily that Instagram and TikTok have, it's the place to be. And I guess for those new audiences or people that are like just discovering wrestling and then find that working its way into their own algorithms on their own socials, and finding those people to then bring them to us is going to be the important thing to like keep Wrestle Talk, but keep all wrestling media going. Because if people don't care what we have to say anymore, then we're all done for.
Fair enough. What do you ever worry about as like life progresses? Do you ever worry about not having an understanding of social media as much as you did like in years period, and being like, I can't do this job because I don't understand social media anymore?
Yeah, I have like horrible like daydreams about this where I'm like, oh my god, I'm too old for this, or there's going to be some platform that's going to come out and I'm just not going to have the capacity to like understand how it's going to help. And that's why I think in this job, like keeping on top of trends and keeping on top of news and algorithm changes and stuff like that is so important in keeping it fresh and making sure we stay in a good place in terms of like building our audience, but also in terms of my place in terms of having the job.
I know what you mean.
Because if I just stop learning, then eventually my knowledge will run out at some point. So and that's what I like about it. There's always something new to learn, always something new to try. So trying to keep up with those things is the difficult bit. But I've got 1,000,001 email alerts for newsletters about social media for different things going on. So I try and keep up as best as I can. But you never know, somebody might come and try and replace me one day.
Fair enough. As we look at wrapping this up, because I do want to be respectful of your time, we're going to do a very quick segment that I call generic questions. Those of you that have seen my videos before will know this is where I ask my guests their favorite match, favorite pay-per-view, favorite tag team, favorite theme song of all time, and favorite wrestler or superstar of all time. So what's your favorite match of all time?
Favorite match of all time? I don't know if it's because it was relatively recently, but I might have to go. It's between two. So it would either be Becky and Bianca from WrestleMania, because it was an absolute stonker of a match, or it'd be Bayley and Sasha from Takeover Brooklyn.
Ooh.
In terms of like women's wrestling, if anyone ever wants to argue with me about women's wrestling, you just got to look at one of those and be like, women can draw, women can make you money if you invest the time and money in them. So for the sake of giving you an answer, I'll go with Becky and Bianca.
Fair enough. Favorite pay-per-view of all time?
Favorite pay-per-view is not necessarily the best pay-per-view, so I'm going to go with WrestleMania 31 because it was the first WrestleMania I ever watched, and it happened on my birthday. So I stayed up late
March
to watch
29th, out of curiosity.
Oh, 30th. So it was into like the early hours.
Oh, you're the day before. You're the day after me then, funny enough.
You got the same birthday as Ollie Davis.
I know. That's so weird, isn't it?
Brilliant, yeah. So yeah, it was the first one I ever watched into the early hours. It turned midnight and then we put the pre-show on, and so it just holds a bit of sentimental value, really.
Yeah. And I personally, and this isn't about me, that Mania is very underrated.
100%. Like the entrances, the stage, the theming, the matches. I love a ladder match. So that ladder match that year was spectacular to me and would be in a top 10. But yeah, it just
Undertaker in Daylight is not a bit of me though. I'll say that.
No, we can cut that bit out. That's fine.
That's not a bit of me.
Asterisk
I'll say that. Anyway, favorite tag team?
Oh, I'll say the New Day purely for character work and in-ring work.
100% agree. Favorite theme song?
Oh, it's basic probably, but I've got to go with Edge, the Metalingus by Alter Bridge.
I was dreading that you were going to say his one he had for a little while during his
Heel
run. And I was like, no. And then, who is your favorite wrestler or superstar of all time?
Of all time, I think it's got to be Becky Lynch, probably for the tenacity, the talent she brings to the women's division. It's just incredible. She's an incredible woman, and if I could meet one superstar one day, it'd be Becky.
I hope that happens for you. I'm not going to lie. And as we wrap this up, Abby, the question that I had all my interviews on is with YouTube, with podcasting, with social media in general. We're all sort of going to live forever in some sort of very, very strange way. So what is one piece of content from yourself that you want the good people to check out? And then what is one that you're like, if you could avoid that, I would appreciate it?
Oh, in terms of like content where you can see me, I guess the place I am most often is on Wrestle Talk After Dark, which is on Patreon, so it is behind a paywall. So I completely understand if people don't want to do that. But that's just where you get to see a bit more of like our characters and us just chatting general nonsense, which is great. We're over a couple of drinks. In terms of stuff I don't want people to see, probably would be when I appeared on one of the Raw reviews for the Ultra Chats segment back a couple of months ago now. But I was just so nervous that I was just like a deer in headlights. I just didn't know what to do. But so I think if I got another opportunity, things might be a bit better. But yeah, don't go watch that one because I was horrendous and just a bag of nerves.
Fair enough. And as we wrap this up, where can the good people find you and all your content?
Oh, I'm on Twitter. That's probably the best place to find me because all my other socials are private. So I'm at Abbie_WT. Abbie WT.
I think like so. I honestly cannot remember off the top of my head.
How dreadful is it that I don't remember that?
You work in social media and you don't remember your own social media handle.
I know. I barely.
That's quite funny.
That's the thing. Then you've obviously got the Wrestle Talk socials. Search Wrestle Talk anywhere, you'll find us. TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Wrestle Talk podcast account, and then Parts of Unknown they're both on Twitter as well.
It's well worth doing. So if you guys like this video, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Tom Talks Rubbish. Follow me on Twitter at Tom Talks Rubbish. Follow bodyslam.net on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts, and on Twitter for my show with Cassidy Haynes, the Wrestle Watch podcast, and follow the Wrestle Watch pod to help us pick our match every week. And I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.